Jeff is already calling us out because we're late. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
All right. I know we were kind of working out through some things over here that I guess it's the first time that you've done something similar to this. I know you've done some live streams on your channel, but it's just usually just been by yourself. There you
Um,
go. I got
yeah,
the
let
notification
me
you're going
mute
live.
my end here because I think. Oh, there we go. All right, say again. Go ahead. I
No,
got
no.
some echoing.
I was just letting you know I got the notification from your channel that you're going live.
Oh, perfect. Hope it all works out.
Yeah. So for those of you that are here, thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you that haven't had the opportunity to meet Joe, this is Joe from PriceTag Aquariums, and I was fortunate enough that he accepted to come on as a guest. And so we'll talk a little bit about what he's got going on in his fish room. For those of you who haven't seen his channel, I highly recommend that you go check him out. If you don't mind, Joe, can you just post like a hello or something so that it's in the stream and people could just kind of click on your icon and be able to access your account?
Yep.
Let me see. Oh, you know what? It's not going to work that way because it's linked. Let me see. No. Oh, wait up. I'm looking at the wrong high tag. Oh, Joe. it's it's okay. Let me see.
Hey, Skull, and everybody else.
Let me see. I'm trying to. Sorry about the awkward silence, but I'm trying to get to the stream so that I can post a
Yeah, go right
copy of
ahead.
your link.
You are
Okay.
the
Well,
expert.
thank you, Curtis. Curtis has already got it. He's a lot faster than I am.
Thanks, Curtis.
Well, anyways, let me get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way so that we can get started. I want to say thank you to Eduardo for being the very first one here. Second close was Juanita. Thank you for joining us today. Joe happened to be in the chat. Uh, Jeff, Empire of Dirt Aquariums is here with us today. Curtis Go Aquatics, thank you so much, sir. And Tommy, Silver Creek Aquatics. Mark Storlson, thank you so much, sir. Let's see who else is Shady Grady's coming in. We have B Wizzle. Hey Brandon, thanks for joining us today, this afternoon. And Danny Aquatics, thank you so much. And thanks in advance for everybody that's going to be coming in. Um, as you guys well know, I'm not the best at trying to keep track with the chat and the conversation. So ahead of time, I want to say thank you, a blanket hello to everybody that'll come in. If you do have a question, I happen to see it. I'll post it up here. I know that on YouTube, if you use the it'll highlight it. Well, you know what? I'll run it on here just to chat. I won't run the stream. That way, it'll draw my attention to it, and we can put that up there for Joe. Also, for those of you that are coming in through Joe's channel, thank you for being here today. I know he's simulcasting with me on his channel. So if you see some weird conversations when I post them up here and you're wondering why, it's because they're probably coming in through from Joe's
Yeah.
live stream. So with that being said, thanks for joining me, Joe.
Yes. It's. I was looking forward to it, so I appreciate it. How's your
Now
How's your week been?
it's what, it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I kind of this week was it's kind of a weird situation because I've kind of lumped in together a bunch of live streams,
Yeah.
and because I hadn't really done anything. I have a real revolving kind of work schedule, because
Yeah.
we do 3 shifts,
Hmm.
and like tomorrow morning I go into the morning shift, which is like from 6 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon.
Okay.
But I'm in between shifts, which I just got off from 2 to 10s,
Yep.
and then after I do the day, which is 6 to 2s, I go in for graveyard, which is 10 to 6, 10 at night to
Yeah.
6 in the morning.
I get it. I know how you feel. My job's got like a swing rotation too, but we only have days and nights, so it's just 12-hour days. So we just go back and forth between that. Work a few days, off a day or two, and then work a few nights. So it's
Okay.
I
Are
get it.
you part of some of the emergency services? Is that what you do for a living, or something
No,
different?
what I do for a living, I just work at a natural gas processing plant.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
a 24/7 facility, and it always just got to be managed, all year round. So
Are you an operator?
yeah.
Oh, okay. We're in the same boat. That's what I do, but not for
Okay.
gas. I do it for water. I work out
Oh, okay.
at a dam on the Colorado River.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I understand we were supposed to go to 12-hour shifts, but they got pretty smart about it, because on the last day of the 12-hour shift, we would be getting 8 hours of overtime. And it had gotten all the way through
They're
until
like,
it hit
no, you can't get any overtime.
until it hit the board. They're like, no, that's too much overtime. So they kicked
Yeah.
it back, and now we got to come up with a creative way, with the schedule that'll meet all the requirements without exceeding. I think they allowed us 4 hours of overtime per week,
Okay.
if they had to do that, but they couldn't do the full 8.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of overtime. Some of it built in, and some of it just working extra here and there. But generally speaking, we always get overtime in our work schedule, so that's what's kind of nice.
So do you guys work like consecutive days, and then you have a lump sum days of days off, or?
We have a schedule, what's called a DuPont schedule, um, and we have like 4 nights. We'll work in a row, 12-hour days. We'll have a few days off in between, and then we have this chunk of schedule where you work 3 days followed by 3 nights, like back to back, and then we'll have a few days off, and then our last rotation is going to be 4 days in a row, and then we actually get 6 off. So
Okay.
it's kind of a catch-22. You work with a swing shift, and you sometimes you have to work half the weekends each month, but then on the trade-off is it's nice to have the time off, especially in the middle of the week, where you don't either have to deal with crowds, between going to whatever stores you need to, and sometimes on the long change of when you have your break, you don't have to take vacation time. So
Yeah, I know. I really do like having days off during the week. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. It makes it awesome for us, because when my wife coincides on those days off during the week, we can get away, go to the beach, and pretty much, because San Diego is about a 3-hour drive from us.
okay,
We'll go up there, and there's nobody there. It's
perfect.
Compared to a weekend.
Yeah.
So we pretty much have the place to ourselves. So there's some upsides. And then again, if you're trying to run errands, and
Yep.
take care of business, it's always helpful to be during the weekdays.
Yep. Especially like I try to go at like in the morning on my days off on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and no one's around, so I can just get done what I need done and come back home. It's perfect. But then
Now-
you got to work half the weekends too, and work 12-hour days, so it's all right.
Yeah, you know what? I really don't mind working weekends, to be honest. Unless we have like a big family function, that's the only time that it really seems like a bummer.
Yeah.
But
same here.
I don't know your case. A lot of the times I'm working by myself. I'm in a structured building, and I'm the only one there.
Okay.
Depending on the shift that I'm working. Usually the only time where there'll be staff is usually on the morning shift.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, and they work 4/10, so they're only there Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, that's how our maintenance crew does too. They do 4/10s, and the office people would do Monday through Friday. So
we only have one admin lady, and everybody else is maintenance. So she does all our payroll. But we're relatively, we're a big agency, but the dam section of it, we're a small little outfit. I think for the crew, the operators crew, there's only 5 of us. We have 3 specialists that work in the back, and they do all the scheduling for the water orders and all that stuff.
okay.
And then we have a maintenance crew. The maintenance crew is a lot larger. They're, I think, about 20 individuals, that do different stuff out there at the dam for the maintenance. And that's pretty much it. That's the entire. Oh, and then the admin lady, and then obviously the supervisor for the division. And that's pretty much it. So
That's good.
It makes it. It's not. It's really good if you get along with everybody you work with, but it could be hell, even with a small group like that, if there's just somebody there that's just won't.
I think that's kind of makes a job pretty important, that, if you have a good group of guys to get along with, even like in a small group, because our company as a whole is a pretty big company. We're all over the United States and stuff. Because it's actually based out of a different state that we're from, Ohio. So you kind of have to go through emails and such. But as far as just my location personally, it's just a small group of people.
Yeah.
You got 3 people per shift. But then of course your days, you have all the people there for just your admins and stuff like that, maintenance and supervisors and stuff. But night crews, it's just your crew there, just keeping the plant running. So
Okay.
it helps, just we have a good group of guys to work with. So
Well, at least you have somebody to talk to during the shift.
yeah.
half the time I'll be talking to myself. No,
Yeah,
you
it's not
it-
bad.
we're very fortunate that we have access to the internet while we're there. So that's
Yeah, we
why
do.
that's where I do a lot of my YouTube consumption is during those shifts, and I'm
Yeah.
always searching for new channels that are springing up and
Yeah.
looking to see what they're doing. There's a lot of great channels out there that are just waiting to be kind of brought into the fold. That just a way of saying it, because eventually the algorithm's going to start pushing their stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know how
Figure out
familiar
the
you.
algorithm, so it's so complicated. There's so much stuff that you can get into to figure out the whole algorithm out. So, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Busy work
I don't know.
schedule.
I don't know how
Busy
familiar
work.
you are with the community here on YouTube. There's a right now, if you've seen on there on your chat, there's that Fish Fam link. I don't know
Yeah.
if you're familiar with that or not.
Recently, I've actually just got into that, so they were able to help me out with that. So that should be able to help me progress a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, the important part of being on there is that if you have the app, it'll notify you anytime that you go live. It'll send out a notification.
Okay. So that's good to know then, because I haven't looked into it extensively. Because whenever I got added into it, I don't remember the exact date, but work kind of got hectic and life kind of got busy. So I was just like, wow. So that's good to know. And if I missed that, whenever I got first added in, I apologize. But yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, no, and it's great because that way, once you're registered in there, anytime you do post a new video, you post something on your community chat and your community page, it'll send out a notification. It'll help push it to everybody else, and you don't necessarily have to be subscribed to people, because I get a lot of if I have the app. If you download the app, what it does, anybody that's on there, it'll send you a notification whether you're subscribed to them or not, which I really love, because that's how I discover a lot of new channels.
Yeah.
And you get to discover other type of content creation, because I think they've even allowed people from the reptile community that are registering in there. So, and it's kind of a normal thing to have people that are not only aquarists, but they also do the reptiles. So they kind of
go hand in hand, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of nice.
And I think they even have some foreign channels on there, if I wasn't mistaken about that, which is cool. I mean, there's a lot of good content,
diverse, and real nice community to dive into. So
what I like a lot about a lot of the foreign channels is they do a lot of DIY projects, a lot of DIY projects, and sometimes you can walk away with some pretty good ideas and put your own twist to them and make them work for your application.
That's good. So, that's really
so
good.
Yeah, it's that's what happens when you work graveyards and you got 8 hours of keeping yourself entertained.
Yeah, between 8 to 12 hours. I mean, after so long, you just need something to make sure you're hanging out and doing your thing. And if something happens, that you're still awake. I get it.
Yeah. So, but your channel, because I know I kind of stumbled on your channel.
Okay.
But I'm trying to think. I must have been like a month and a half ago that I discovered your channel, but you haven't really been on as far as creating content for that long, or have you?
I think I last looked the other day. My first video was about a year ago.
Okay.
And I've only had, a select, I don't know, maybe roughly speaking, maybe some odd 20-ish videos, give or take. I'd have to count them up again and see, but it's very challenging to have a family and have a work life and then have content creation. You have to do a balancing act between all three of them. So
yeah, it could be. And then the other thing is trying to come up with ideas for content. That's, eventually you run into that point where it's like, okay, do I really want to do a species profile on tetras? And you look and there's like 100 different
Oh
of
yeah.
the same neon tetra. So I mean, you people do it, and that's where I kind of struggle a little bit with it, is because I go, do I really want to do
Is it really worth
something?
it? Because there's 1,000 more videos
Well,
that
not
you
only that,
can.
I know where I stand as far as my editing and
Okay.
and filming quality, and it's nowhere near what I see some of these other. I would feel more comfortable referring somebody to a well edited video that's easy to watch than if
Yeah.
I had to do something like that.
See, I can kind of relate to that because, in short, I feel that like some of like your high end YouTubers, like your like your KG Tropicals, your Primetime Aquatics, Father Fish, they all started the social media thing, 10 plus years ago when YouTube first started up and doing this. So it really helped them out and grow, and that's why they have so many subscribers. So I think like for someone like me who's just starting out, I mean, social media, you got so much stuff out there and it's hard to keep up with everything. Whereas back in the day, you had only YouTube, and that was the best thing to, promote, your business or your content. So that's why I feel like it's kind of harder to come up with stuff because it's hard to come up with something that someone hasn't already done.
Yeah. Let me see. We
But
had some new people coming in to join with us. Let me see. Let me go back and catch up with them. Okay, looks like Red Laser came in here. Fish Fam Link is here with us today too. Craig, uh, thank you for joining us today. Let's see. Bud's Files, thanks for being here. Audra, she's going to be lurking and working. Curtis, Danny Aquatics, thank you, sir. Charles, Geek Boy, thank you for being here. KGE Aquatics, Keith, thanks for joining us today. And I guess Doc, I don't see Dr. Anthony. Oh, Dr. Anthony, are you here with us? Thank you so much for joining us. Lumpy Dog, thanks for being here. I know I saw, Fishy on Fernando, thank you so much for joining us today. Craig Parrish, thank you so much for joining us today. He's another good channel. I think he's in Europe, if I'm
okay.
not mistaken. And it's either that or Australia. I don't know. I'm horrible with trying to remember where they're from.
Yeah.
But he's got some really cool stuff that he's doing in his fish room. I tend to gravitate to channels with fish rooms for some reason.
Yeah. I like channels like that too. I tend to do that as well.
Well, you know what it is? It's because I have one, and I like to see what other people are doing, especially because I'm kind of starting to dab a little bit more into breeding.
Yeah.
And if they're already successfully breeding different stuff, I love watching that stuff because eventually I like to be able to get around and breed some other species. And then you also start learning relatively quick that a lot of species will kind of follow the same pattern for breeding. So you can set up aquariums in very similar fashion to
Okay.
have success. So I know there used to be a gentleman, I think it was called Mark's Aquatics, and I think he was also from England. I haven't seen him lately, but he has some excellent videos on breeding like neon tetras,
Okay.
white cloud minnows, a lot of the smaller species, because not a lot of people do stuff on the smaller species, like the nanofish. So
yeah, I haven't seen hardly any of that at all. So that's good to know. I'll have to check that out.
But I don't know if he's very active still. Yeah, Mark Aquatics is amazing. Yeah, but I know for a while there, he kind of went away from being in his fish room. He was doing a lot of stuff out at I guess it's just seasonal because he could have access to the beach. So he was doing a lot of saltwater stuff. But I really, really enjoyed him. Very, very technical when explaining stuff, very clear, which is one of the things that I wanted to bring up about one of your videos that I thought was excellent.
Oh, thanks.
It's I think it's like your third video or something, or it's just called like my best video so far or something like that.
That was like almost a year ago.
Wow, you know what? That video is awesome because it really gives you a good perspective of your vision of why you're doing this. And what I really appreciate is the editing that you did with it, but you have a very clear and concise way of explaining things. And that's why I was asking about what do you do for a living, because the way you express yourself is almost like if you worked in a place where you had to instruct people, and you have that natural ability be very clear and concise in the information you're giving. And I
Yeah.
can see that you do, unlike my videos, you prep. And I don't know if you do a script, but it
Um,
seems scripted.
Sometimes it is, and like I actually sit down, like for example, like the video I'm doing for Higer, because they sent me a light that I'm doing a review on, so that's kind of a nice thing that they got a hold of me. Long story short, but in regardless, I literally sit down and like the one day I tried to do it without a script, and I was here for like a half hour, 45 minutes. I was like, I can't do it. So I just said, you know what? Let's just turn the camera off and let's just start thinking and put my thoughts down on paper. And then once I got, a thesis going, then I was able to work off it. And then I was like, okay, now I know what to talk about. So I'm kind of like a visual, paper, write everything down and then put everything together. So yes.
Yeah, so it was really good. I mean, it's a pretty long video. And it doesn't seem that long because it's the way you're presenting the information, you're talking about yourself, why you're doing this, the reasons that you like to keep the aquariums. I mean, you know, it captivated me enough where I didn't even click off it, and I watched the whole thing and then realized, oh shoot, this is a pretty long video, but it was very good. It was well done.
Well, I appreciate it. That's usually in anything in life between family, work, and fish keeping and everything else. I try to get as much detailed information and relay it back to whoever I'm talking to, and to make sure that everything's clear and everything's good to go without any question. If there is, I can be prepared for it. So I appreciate you watching that whole entire video. It's nice to see. It's nice to actually hear when people that are like, for you as example, to go back and say, oh, I saw your video from 9 months ago and I really liked them. Just like, oh, wow, I got to go back and see like, oh, that one. Yeah, man, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Because as I'm growing, I may not have even had that digital cam. I'd have to look back and see if I did or not. Cause I started on my phone for a little bit.
Yeah, it could have been because it was a lot of B-roll.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I mean, like I said, I really liked the message you were delivering. It was very clear, very concise. It was very fluid because it never seemed like it got caught up or it became a drag or repetitive for that matter. So I thought it was really well done. So that's why I was kind of like, oh, I wonder what kind of a background does Joe have, because it seemed like somebody that's used to doing presentations. That's why I was asking somebody that's used to having to present, whether it's a training or something like that. And I was like, okay, I'm curious. Now I'm curious to see what he does for a living.
My lifestyle is and what I work. Well, I've been here for 10 years, but I'm not any type of supervisor or anything like that. My previous job, I was a supervisor for a while. So maybe that's kind of where that came from too. Maybe there's a mixture between that and the job I'm at now is kind of where the vibe I got to make my videos. So I'm sure all that kind of plays an effect of want to make sure my presentations are clear and cut and, are clear cut and understandable. So
yeah. And the other video that really stood out in my mind was when you did the 10-gallon, the 9 aquarium 10-gallon rack. What really stood out to me was because as you can see right here, I have 10-gallon aquariums, and is the fact that you mentioned that not all 10 gallons are exactly the same dimension.
That was like
I was laughing when I saw that because I hadn't really. I mean, I've seen where people do the videos, and nobody has ever really mentioned the fact that not all aquariums are exactly the same. And I know that because I did this, and when I built it, I realized, oh shit, they're not the same.
Yeah, I'll tell you really have to because a lot of the tanks I've had, there's some that I've bought, long story short, that I bought full price, or I won't say full price, but bought new, but they do that 50% off tank sale from all your main pet stores, But I mean, some of these tanks I got just off a marketplace, off of Craigslist, and then some other stuff. So I have probably 3 different types of tanks. And after I started measuring everything out before I made the stands, I was just like, what the heck? How's this supposed to work out? Or even if it's just a half-inch difference, I don't want one side of an aquarium having, sitting on a 1-inch thick board, and then the other one only sitting on a centimeter of the board, and then the other ones are all fine. It's like, well, that's gonna be our worst case scenario is this one's gonna fall or something's gonna leak and it's gonna go all over top of the other ones. I was like, I don't want to do that. So you have to find a happy medium, and that's why I tried to make it clear about the tanks being different sizes, because they're really not. Whether you buy them from Walmart, PetSmart, Petco, local fish stores, who knows, Joe blows over here and has a free tank for me. You know, it's all different.
Yeah, and it's funny because you don't. That's the last thing you think about when you have multiple tanks. You well, at least I'm okay. I'm not going to speak for everybody. I assumed that all the aquariums were built exactly the same. I mean, as far as if you got a 20-gallon tall, I was under the impression all 20 talls were exactly the same dimension. And it wasn't until I built that rack. Luckily for me, though, I didn't do the horizontal like you did, where you can see the entire front view. Mine are the long ways,
Yep.
so it didn't matter as much. But when I was lining up the aquariums, that's when I noticed. I said, "Wait, these are like about a quarter-inch lower," and I realized I had 3 and 3. And I said, "You know what? I'll just being how OCD I am, I kind of put the 3 that were exactly the same size next to each other, and then the shorter ones next to them."
Yeah, I'm a little OCD as well, so that's why I was so precise on making sure everything worked out, you know, with the different sizes. So I get it. I wanted to go into the chat, and before we go any further, and someone may have already posted a link. Someone asked about, I believe, what's behind me. Outside in Aquatics asked what is behind price tag.
Okay.
And
why don't you talk a little bit about that? That's actually a really neat project. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend you go watch it.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, I can't take even half the credit for this project personally, because my brother is probably the biggest construction nerd in the. You know, he's been doing it since he's been doing it with my dad, probably since after he graduated high school, and he's like, I'm 38 and he's 40, I believe. So he's been doing it for, 30-ish years, 25 years maybe. And he's the one that him and I got together, and I told him exactly what I wanted, all the, the measurements and how I want it set up. And it's so down to a T that I wanted to make sure that this was going to be my live stream spot. I had this desk I wanted to use. I was measuring the desk. I was measuring, the tank that's in front of me here, and the distance between how much room I wanted meant a lot to me. So that's why I only had 55 gallons here instead of 75, because of 4 inches. I didn't want to be pushed further into everything else that was going on, have enough room to do everything I wanted to. But yeah, with that being said, it's just my brother, he's a construction whiz, and he helped me out with a lot of it. And the only thing that I helped out with is get the dimensions correct. We got the dimensions of all the tanks and put everything together. And then he helped me bring all the tanks from upstairs to downstairs, and then I put everything together myself. But this was like my vision. So to be fair, this is all something that I've wanted to do ever since I started doing the YouTube content creation. I kept thinking in my head, with the house I moved into, and I was like, wow, you know what? I could turn this into something really cool, and I have the room to do it. And one of the things that when I was in Florida, this one restaurant, it's called, it's by where my dad's boat is in Jupiter. I cannot remember for the life of me what the name of the restaurant is, but the restaurant had all these tanks, and they were all like set in wall tanks. And that's where I got the idea from. And then I went downstairs after I got back home, and I was just like, I think I can make this work. So I got a hold of my brother, and we put our brains together. And after he did the construction part and got everything painted up, I put up all the decorations and everything and put all the lights in here myself. And that's kind of how it turned out. So
yeah, I was going to say, if that's your style of fish keeping, you're really going to enjoy Aquarium Domain. He has a very similar, setup where he's got in-wall aquariums. He recently built like a 48-foot aquarium in his basement. That thing is super impressive. And I love it because he's got like bass and big Oscars in there.
That's awesome.
And they look tiny in that aquarium. They look tiny.
I'm sure. How large did you say it was?
48 feet, I think.
Oh, wow. That's insane. So, yeah,
48
I think that would be cool.
I know somebody's going to correct me because I know quite a few people here follow his channel. His name's Jeremy. Mm-hmm. Awesome. The stuff that he's building there. I mean, it's super impressive. That aquarium is so cool that he even built like a little pier on it. So it gave like the fish an extra site of refuge. I mean, if you ever going to get close to seeing what these fish, especially big fish, interact in the wild, I think you're going to get it out of that aquarium. Okay. I think you're going to get it out of his aquariums because they have that water volume.
That's
and
awesome.
it's really interesting to see how much more the interaction of these fish changes over time. So
Plus to have like big bass in there and stuff like that. I
yeah,
think
he's
that's
got some
pretty
peacock
cool.
bass.
Yeah.
He's got some Oscars. I forget what else he has in there, but and he's not done stocking it yet. But it's, I mean, that whole building process. I watched every single bit of it because it was super entertaining because I hadn't seen anything like that. And then, I get to enjoy that aquarium without having to be responsible for it, which is the best part. I get the benefit of all the enjoyment and none of the work. Hey, Gabriel.
Yeah, that would be really neat. I don't know. With my process, I had a whole mindset of what I wanted to do. If I were to change it, that would probably go that route, and I would. But since I'm already got everything done, I really pretty satisfied how everything is set up. And if I were done differently, I would have probably done like a big giant aquarium like he did. But I have no regrets because everyone they've commented on these,
Yeah.
on my videos, and they've really liked it, and it kind of makes me feel better that like
Well,
yes, I really did a good job, and they really appreciate it. So I'm just like, oh, that worked out really well.
I really like the detail how you framed it out like if it was a picture.
Yeah, that was my brother and I. We were trying to think because we didn't just want to stick it in and then just have the wall just kind of sit there and just sort of go, how can we make this look like it? And then he actually came up with the idea of he went to a guy's house to where his office was in the basement, but there were no windows. So what the guy did that he was explaining to me is he made kind of like a window frame, but he had TVs. Some of them were vertical and some of them were horizontal. So he would just change the channel of like a beach scene or like an outdoor, something. He's like, so why don't we do that with yours? I'm like, that's a good idea.
Yeah, they're really really impressive. Now, I know the one behind you is where you had some concern that the fish would never come out in the front. You were talking about it in the live stream. Have they come around to getting used to being there and having you in front of it? Because I can see them now. I know
Yeah.
that first live stream they were hiding the entire time.
Yeah, they've gotten better, but they're not where I want them to be. And they're all in Bunas, so I guess I'm still figuring out because this is the tank that I've messed with the most, and I feel like that it has a big part in it, just because of moving fish from. This was my first African cichlid tank too, and it was upstairs. I went one community fish tank, and then I went to the Mbunas, dived in, and didn't know a whole lot about it, and learned quite a bit from between food, fish death, how to take care of the tank, but. I just think in all in all, I think it was just a learning process. And I was hoping moving them down here would help. And I just feel like they're still trying to get accustomed right now. So I feel like it's just going to take time because I was really close, because what sucks still is whenever I come down here and turn on the house lights on and feed them all, I feel like that they're the only downside of having these tanks here is you don't have that, ham in front of the tank and the fish can see you, right in front of the tank, literally taking your hand and putting the food in front of them. So I think that's the only downfall that you don't get. And I feel like if I had that with these guys, it'd be a little bit better. But now that I'm doing more live streams, I think it's helping because I feed them from behind, they're just through the feed hatches. So they don't ever see me feed them because
They don't associate you with food.
No, no. So I think that's probably the most difficult part. Is not having that interaction of, hey, I'm putting food down, as opposed to when I'm back there, they don't even see who's back there. They just see the food.
I guess it's bad, but it's good at the same time because unlike us, who we feed from the front, even if you're up there and you're kind of doing whatever, the fish are all thinking they're going to get fed.
Yeah.
This way you can get close to the aquarium, talk about the aquarium, and the fish will be like, whatever.
Yeah.
He's not going to feed us. This is not the hand that gives us something to eat.
I guess there's a couple, like, I know that the Erotis, they can be known to be aggressive, and the electric blue Jahani, they're known to be aggressive. So I feel like that might have a play in it with territory issues. I got some things from Imperial Tropical, so it was my very first fish order through them. Have you bought from them before?
No.
Okay. Have you ever bought live fish online before?
No.
Okay.
Well, no. Let me see. What did I get online? Did I get fish? I'm trying to think. I don't think I've bought fish online.
Me neither. This was the first time.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
So before I have five that I bought, 5 or 6, and then there's yellow lab in there too. But regardless, I have some that are in quarantine that are almost done, and I just have a fear because a couple of these yellow labs had died from aggression, and I'm afraid to put these new ones in here from Imperial Tropicals. So I'm probably gonna have to do one last reset before I add them because I want to put them in here, take these guys out. This is why this tank over here, I'll show you here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why this tank over here is empty, because I want to be able to put them in here. That's in here for temporarily, so that way when I'm moving all the decorations, it doesn't interfere. Might kill a fish from a rock falling. And then once I put the new fish from Imperial Tropicals in there, then I'll slowly add these ones back in with the rearranged decorations, so we don't have any territory issues.
Well, speaking of Imperial Tropicals, this endorsement from these two gentlemen here really means a lot because, for one thing, Keys also sells fish himself. So for him to say that they do a good job, and Curtis, Skull Aquatics, for him also, because he's a breeder. If they're telling you that they do a good job, that for me it's good as gold. Their word is good as gold to me. I would never hesitate if I wanted to order anything from them to do that. Hey, John.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Skull said they're legit, and I've always heard good things about it, but never went to it. But
I've seen their website, and they do. I'm more into the dwarf cichlids when it comes to cichlids. I like those more, and they have a really good selection of not just the pistols. Everybody thinks like a pistols and rams when they think of dwarf cichlids, but there's a whole bunch of other. I didn't realize how many different species of acaras, or I guess there's.
I just know electric blue acaras, so I haven't got into that. So that's something I didn't know about either.
And they have quite the selection of the different types of, I guess, dwarf cichlids. And and I didn't even know. Well, I had seen them around, but I had never really looked at their website because, again, the problem is where I live is in the desert. So we have a really small window where I would feel comfortable ordering fish, where it wouldn't be too cold from where they're shipping out, and it wouldn't be too hot when they get here. Because I've done plants in the past, and I haven't had any success with the plants. They all get baked. By the time they show up at my doorsteps, I have had a hard time with some of the plants.
Not unless, even if you had somebody home, or even if you were home, it seems like whenever you get it to your door, they're still
it's just bad. Where they sit at the facilities that they sit at, and I don't know, sometimes they might preload the trucks, and they load them in the afternoon. By the time they take them out in the morning, it just they're tin cans that are just absorbing heat all day. So
that's not
I think that's really what the problem is when they're getting transferred from wherever it is they're shipping, and they hit the transfer yard, it's just too hot. So it's always a few months in the fall and a couple of months in the spring where I might be able to get away with ordering stuff online.
Yeah. As far as like Ohio goes, I feel like in the summertime it would be hard for me to do that too, because I don't know if I would trust, even though it is overnight, but I feel like I'd be in the same boat when it's like late in the summer in like July and August. That's why I wanted to order the fish like kind of like late winter, early spring, so it's still kind of cool. I know they're insulated and stuff, but that's kind of my same process. Is I didn't want to order something and get to my house and something might happen to them. But I guess Imperial Tropicals, I guess they stand behind, whatever they give out, because if something is wrong with them, I guess as long as they're still in the bag, but you have to be like, as soon as it's delivered, I think you have like an hour window or something like that to take a picture or video and send it to them immediately, like through an email or something. And that's how you can I think you get like credit back or something, so you can get something else if something were to happen. But Imperial Tropicals, like you said, their selection was really good. I mean, I was on several different other websites, and I just felt like I just kept coming back to Imperial Tropicals. And there's one fish store. It's called Aquatica Aquarium Gallery. It's near Cleveland.
Okay.
And I'm near Canton, and they're the largest aquarium that I can go to. I guess it's it's about an hour from my house, that has the biggest selection. But even with that being said, I mean, the Mbuna selection is very slim, and that's why I decided to go with Imperial Tropicals, because their selection was really broad, and I could find fish I never found anywhere else. So that was kind of the purpose of me going there too. First class fish says Aquatica is by him, so he must be in Ohio too.
Yeah, I'm starting to find out there's quite a few of you guys out there.
Yeah.
Now I got to start finding all my people in Arizona.
So do you remember how you stumbled across my channel by chance, or do you?
Well,
remember?
here's the thing. As of late, maybe I want to say about the last 4 or 5 months, I've done nothing but chase like smaller channels that are starting up.
Okay.
And I think I've kind of curtailed my algorithm to think that or not think, but shown it that I kind of gravitate to that kind of content, that now I constantly, every day that I log in and look, there'll be a new channel that I haven't heard about.
Oh,
and
wow.
And I think yours was something like that, where I just kind of was looking, and then the algorithm kind of suggested a video, and I clicked on it. And at this time, well, yeah, you had already built the aquariums inside the wall. Matter of fact, I'm trying to remember, because every time I find a new channel and I find their stuff really interesting, I'll leave a comment. I usually subscribe even without leaving a comment sometimes, just so that I can come back to that channel later on, be able to find it a lot easier, because I can go to my history.
I have a lot of subscriptions too, and that's the whole reason I do that as well. So like, if I see one video, I'm just like, well, I got to, because what if he comes out with something that's going to be useful? Then I can do that.
So usually I'll automatically subscribe to a channel that I haven't really done a deep dive. And then like when I work graveyards is when I'll go back, and a lot of channels will know that I'm looking at their stuff, because all of a sudden, and I like to try to go as far back, especially if it's easier with smaller channels that are just, starting out. I can go all the way to the first video and hit a like and post a comment, watch it, hit a like, post a comment. And I'll do that for an entire shift until either I get done going through their entire catalog, or my shift's over. And usually people will realize, okay, he's kind of watching what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And if I'm really hanging around for a while, it's because I'm really enjoying the content. And at that point I go, okay, I know if I'm enjoying this, I know a group of friends who are also going to enjoy the content.
Yep.
So that's when I'll reach out and say, hey, would you be interested in coming on here? And, I can share what you're doing with my friends, and hopefully you can pick up, 1 or 2 subscribers from that. Yeah,
absolutely. I like that. That's a good thing to do, with knowledge, and get to know people, and, get better at the hobby. That's great.
And usually
I like to look channels. So
the other thing that I look for is to make sure they're kind of a channel that's still current, because one of the other things that I do get a lot of is channels that are small, but because the last video they did was a year, 2 years ago. So, and I'll go look at their channel, and yeah, they haven't posted anything in over a year. And I'll still subscribe just in case they decide to come back and start doing stuff. But if I don't see any activity, more than likely they're just kind of one of those, I guess I tend to call them the pandemic channels, when everybody was everybody and their mother was doing
that was the thing, because that's the only thing you could do, is, hey, I'm going to make a social media channel and we'll see where it goes.
Yep. But your channel's been on for how long? How long ago did you start? I think you said, what, a year ago?
Yeah, if you look on my channel, it says that I joined like several years ago, but that's just because I made a YouTube account.
Yeah,
it's just been active. But as far as me being like actively on YouTube and making content, it's probably about a year, because I think that was my first video was about a year ago.
So where does the decision for you to go? At what point do you go, you know what? Instead of just watching videos, I want to do videos.
I think a lot of like the higher channels got me into it, like the channels that I mentioned earlier, and the stuff that they did really got me more into fish keeping. And I used to do it as a kid, and then it kind of fell off a little bit as I got to middle school and high school, and trying to figure yourself out, of course, going through changes and stuff and interests. And then I picked it back up, and I ended up finding a fish tank and stand from my dad's house when they were moving. So I brought it back to my house, and then I started watching these YouTube channels, and I was just like, well, let me do some research and let me look up some stuff. And then I found these bigger channels. And then I kept thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? I could probably do that. Because it's like, and that looks like a lot of fun. Nerve-wracking to do your very first video because it was just over a double sponge filter and stuff. So that first video or two, it's going to like, one of these days I'm going to do a look back and say, oh man, let's do a reaction video to my first video, and see how I think about it. But surprisingly enough, that first video did really well. So I guess that's kind of what maybe got the inclination to be able to do this. Is I was like, you know what? I want to do this because I want to be able to at least try to make a difference in some people's lives and try to help people out, but at the same time enjoy it and for what it is. And it just sparked the interest, and I've just gone from there. And then African cichlids took place, and I found out I couldn't even believe that the way they breed just blew my mind. So then that's when I started doing the whole breeding process, and now I have 30 tanks.
So now that you mentioned that, so I always assume, based on your logo and seeing some of the fish that you highlight, you're really into African cichlids. That's the species that really drives your hobby.
Yes, it really does. I have one community, or I take that back. There's a Molly tank over there, and then there's one community 46 Bowfront, and it is a main show tank too. But most of it, like I said, it's mostly African cichlids. I think it's just because the color and the different contrasts you can get from them, and I don't know, I really like seeing them grow up, and just the way that they mate and the way that they carry their eggs in their mouth, it just amazes me. And then I saw videos of how people strip the eggs from the female. I was like, that's freaking awesome. That's like blew my mind. I never knew that. I just thought that with community fish, that like mollies, for example, their bellies get fat and then they just release their babies. And when I found that out, I'm like, well, that's amazing. I want to do that too. So my next goal, though, actually, on a side note, is to start a planet tank. And I want to do that with that 46-gallon Bowfront upstairs with the community tank. So I got that light from Higer, so I'm going to put that up there. I'm going to finish that video this week and post it this weekend. But that's my goal, is to eventually get a planet tank, and I want to try to get back into the more community fish and learn with that. But I haven't looked into enough information yet. Long story short, so I still got to do some research for a planet tank, because I tried a little bit with that tank, and I just wasn't knowledgeable enough, so I kind of let it go for a little bit. So when I do some more research, I think it'll be fine. But I've looked into some plans and stuff, and I've looked into some odds and ends, but we'll get there.
Now, here's an interesting thing, because I don't know how many people have actually seen your channel yet, but when they check out your fish room, one of the things that I find it so fascinating is that it looks like I'm at a fish store. The way you have everything set up in there, the way you set up your racks, it's very reminiscent of walking to a very well organized fish store. Now,
thanks.
Is it something that you envision doing in the future? Is kind of driving a business out of your fish room?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is still a goal. I do not have an LLC yet, but I was going to start it last year. And then life got busy, long story short, but regardless, that's still my goal. And I kind of want the fish to get a little bit bigger too. So I think in turn, I think I was kind of waiting for that and try to get my system going, because when I started out, I didn't have a whole aeration system. So I was still working on doing all that with the fish room update. And then once I get that going and everything set to where like, all right, all my tanks are in place, they're good, I don't have to do anything else with it but maintain. And then once the fish start growing, that's when I'm going to be able to start selling them. So that's kind of like what I want to do this year, is eventually, because we set the basement up to where we have like a locked door over here. So when people come in, they're not going through my house. They're going strictly just through the side part of the house.
Okay.
They go down the basement, and it's just the fish room only. And I'll kind of set this up to where, I'll have a program to have them buy the fish. And I might do Ohio Cichlid Association, and get involved with that too. But yeah, that is my goal. That's my end goal, is to start an LLC and have people come in, and I'll eventually sell some of these when they get bigger.
Well, let me see if I can do this, because I'm gonna give them a little bit of a tease as to what your fish room looks like.
Are you looking through the channel and showing my my progression of you trying to find?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to do. Let me see.
That is actually probably one of my favorite videos to date, because it was really such a huge project for me to go from buying some shells from Lowe's and putting some fish tanks on it and letting it run just off of air pumps. And then when I found out, going through Gemco and buying an aerated system, I started going through local fish stores and seeing how they set it up. I was just like, that doesn't seem like it'd be too hard. It's just time consuming. And since I set that all up, like, I don't know, it's just kind of one of those proud things that I feel like I did a good job on. And
I think you should be very proud of what you've been able to accomplish, because like I said, I'm amazed, and I have a fish room and I'm jealous.
Well, thank you.
I'm jealous of how well organized and everything else you have in there, how clean. That's the one thing that just stands out to me, is how clean everything is. And I know this is kind of, let me see if I can fast forward a little bit. You see that background in here, those are all his racks. When I was looking at this, I thought you were going to do a fish store tour, looking at it at first, but everything that's behind you is part of that fish room.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you've seen the video. I came up with a short video I did on my phone, but have you seen the one on those backgrounds of those fish tanks and how I did those?
No, I haven't seen how you build those, but and these are all grow outs for your
fry,
for your fry, right?
Yeah,
that's your
I
molly
have one tank that's specifically made for fry purposes, and they just grow out and then move them from there to the other tanks. But like that right there, like that background, that's a tablecloth, like a plastic tablecloth. And I just cut it up, because when I set everything up, there was like a couple of tanks that were just painted black that I got from Marketplace, And after I put everything up, I'm just like, man, this looks like crap. It's like, this looks ugly. All these electric cords and stuff and heaters and stuff. I was like, this looks terrible. And then the irony of it all is my daughter, she was a year old, and she was rummaging through the cupboards, and she found the tablecloth that I completely forgot we had, that we used outside. So I just, long story short, cut into pieces and taped into the back. And I was like, that's perfect.
Did you put paint on it, or is just the way the light diffuses off of that makes it look like ripples in it?
It's just the way the tablecloth is, and the way the light hits it. It's just, it makes it look really authentic. Like I've never seen something like that in stores before. It's either like solid blue or just black, So that's why I was like, this is going to look really good.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it was in a live stream where I was watching. You were kind of walking around showing a little bit of what you had in there. I was like, wait a minute, does he work at a fish store, or is that
not the first time that someone asked me about that? So it makes sense why you would ask if that's my future plan, just to start selling them here. Yeah.
And are these all species that you've bred, or are you buying and then growing them out, or what's the deal with
the one, not this one before that? That's a Frontosa. That is a bucket list fish of mine.
Okay.
And that is an Aqua Decor 125-gallon tank, and I didn't want to just buy Frontosa already big, because I want the accomplishment of being able to buy them when they were little, grow them out big, and have this big tank and the big presentable tank in the dining room. So whenever we're eating, we can enjoy it and watch them grow and go through the whole process. So that one's upstairs. That's one of my main tanks, my biggest one actually in the house.
Okay, so this is not down in the fish room.
Correct. This is upstairs in the main by the dining room. This one, that one's part of my 46-gallon bow front that I want to turn into a all planted tank, because everything's fake in there, that I attempted to put plants in but did not. So like I said, I still got to do some research.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't had an opportunity to see his channel, I really recommend you go and see some of these videos. I mean, he does a very good job of showcasing what he has, and also I just like the way that I can see that there's effort, thought, and work put into your videos, and I really appreciate that. Unlike you're like the totally opposite of me, where I just turn on the camera and no editing, no none of this, all the way through, because I'm trying to think on the fly. I find an appreciation for when somebody really takes time and think and thought into
Yep.
what they're going to do. So
Well, I
that,
greatly appreciate that. It means a lot more than you know. And with everybody else in the chat too. I mean, I did a live stream this morning just on the vertical for the first time, and some people hopped in and they seemed like they really enjoyed. Because what I did was I fed each individual tank and kind of showed what was in it, and I kind of explained how I fed them, what I fed them, and by the end of the live stream, we're all laughing and having a good time, and it was great. So I think people really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. So I'm hoping my channel continues to grow and people enjoy the content. So that's kind of my goal
yeah,
too, is to have a more laid back channel, have a detailed way of how I do things, and I try to be as thorough as I can with every
but
video. So
one of the great things of being part of the community here is that you're going to have a lot of resources at your disposal, especially if you're trying to get into the breeding,
mhm.
because there's so many people here that are such talented breeders. You have people like Alishon, you have people like Skull Aquatics,
Yeah,
Jeff from Empire of Dirt Aquariums.
yeah.
I
Empire was
mean,
on my
I
live
could go
stream
down
this
the
morning.
list, and somebody that's not here, but Fish Easy is another guy that's an excellent breeder. There's a channel called Lowe's Fish Lab or Lowe's Lab or Lowe's something, but
Okay.
great content when it comes to trying to breed fish. I mean, it's amazing the talent that some of these people have, and the willingness they are that with sharing that information. I've never really come across a group of people that have been so welcoming and open,
Yeah.
and willing to help you and support you. Look, all these people here supporting me,
Yeah.
and it's just it's amazing. And I I I've been part of other groups where that's not the case. It's
Okay, so this group in
so
particular has been really well. It seems like it's a good.
well, yeah. I think just in general, the whole community, and it's not just because it's this group. I think in general, I think more often than not, you're going to find people that are willing to help you out.
That's
It's
good.
like everything
That's
else. I mean,
fantastic.
we are humans after all, and you are going to stumble across people that might be questionable,
Yeah,
and but that's just life. I mean, that you're gonna
yeah.
find
You
those
can get
people
that
everywhere.
anywhere.
Yeah, but I think for the most part, I can't tell you of a negative experience that I personally have ever had. So
That's good.
and I am one of the most, I guess, extroverted persons in the community, is because everybody else seems to be an introvert. So I'm kind of an oddball.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, everyone has their ways of doing things, and if whatever works for them, that's great. More power to them. I mean, that's the way I look at it. There's so many different ways to do things, especially in the fish keeping hobby. I mean, there's a vast amount of different ways you can do it, and if it works, and you don't have any fish deaths, or if it works for your lifestyle and your living, and then more power to you.
Yeah, yeah. So but so what are your goals that you have as far as with your channel? What are they? Do you have some established goals that you like to be able to achieve? Are you using this as a marketing tool for the future of your project that you're working on? So what's the driving force behind your channel?
The driving force right now is to continue to grow my fish out, and eventually, I think that's my end goal for this year is definitely to try to get an LLC, get everything started, set up, get a program started to where I can start selling some of these, because they're pretty much at a good point to where I want to get like everything set up with pictures next to the tank, descriptions and everything, and get everything organized. That's kind of like my goal, and then from there. Um, I haven't thought about it. Man, I guess I want to get to 500 subscribers and try to. On a side note, my wife has an LLC and she's doing like a little boutique store. And we were talking, and I said, well, maybe I can sell some of my merchandise and get that going. So that would be like a future plan, is to get some of these T-shirts made, because she has like a printer for it. So we want to try to do that with that business and have some merchandise, available for people if they like the channel and they want to support it. So that's kind of like, I want to kind of go year by year, for goals. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but that's kind of like what I want to do this year is be able to get an LSC and start getting that going, and then maybe get a little bit of t-shirts and like add little bonuses, to try to add on to her website so that people can click on it and go there and buy some stuff. And that's kind of where my drive is now, is just to try to get that going as of now.
Now, are you looking to have inventory for the t-shirts, or would you rather find like a drop ship service?
I have to talk more to my wife about that, because she knows a lot more about that stuff than I do. Because she's been working a lot of that. She's been working on that a lot whenever I'm at work and stuff. And the time when I'm home, it's either with the family or I'm doing with the fish stuff. So I haven't really having enough time to dive in and ask her and get more in detail about it. So I'm not sure yet. She has shirts on stock and hoodies, so
Okay.
she has, like, I think she told me the other day, or that she actually has all the way up to 2X, I believe, from small, and she has them on hand of different colors. And
Okay.
then she just take pictures and print them out. So what she's been doing now on Facebook is she's been putting up stuff of what she has on like one shirt, and then she'll say these are the sizes that are available, because she actually has like shelves of all the different sizes. So I think that's it's nice to have that. I asked her, I was like, hey, can you like make 1 or 2 shirts and print them out and put them on your website, and then that way you can have these available sizes. So
Oh yeah, so having inventory would not be an issue for you. I mean, obviously you guys already have inventory for other stuff. Okay.
Yeah, she has like mugs and like tumblers and stuff.
Yeah.
So we could eventually get something going. I'm almost positive we would have the inventory for it. And if we don't, I believe that she knows where to get more. So I think we'll end up just fine.
Right. Yeah, I know, because a lot of us would like to have like a print on demand kind of services, like what you would get through Shopify or Printful or something like that. But recently, one of the members of the community has stepped up and offered that. That's why I was asking, did you already have something in mind? Because then I could kind of recommend somebody that if you were looking at doing like the print for order, then there's already somebody within the community that's doing that. They're doing my stuff. They're doing Aquafunk stuff. And I don't know, I think he was going to do Mike Loves Fish.
You know what? I think I remember that Aquafunk started doing some of that stuff. Now
it's Car. It's Coral Reef Aquatics, I think is his channel name.
Okay, I always wondered.
I'm horrible with recalling the name. Oh, I'm horrible at a lot of things, but
yeah, no, I'm really bad with names too.
but people's names is the one thing that I can retain.
Oh, really?
Like like a lot of these people that shared their first name with me, it just kind of sticks for some reason.
I wish
I don't know why. I have this weird selective memory.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, for names, it was just kind of like, if it's like, if I see someone their name Joe, I'm just like, oh, well, that's easy if you have a simple name. But if it's someone that I don't, normally come across, I'm never going to remember.
Yeah, the only people's first name that I don't know is because they've never offered it up, or they don't have it posted somewhere. But
okay,
that's why you'll hear me sometimes referring to people by their first name, because it just becomes easier for me. And people are, who are you talking? Well, Aquafunk is one that. Who's Joe? I said, well, that's PriceTag Aquariums.
Yeah.
What? How am I supposed to know that? I go, I don't know, dude. I just know. Curtis, is Skull Aquatics. Keys, KGE Aquatics. Gabriel is GNC. I don't know why, but that's something I have that recall that is just kind of, Kyle is Outside In Aquatics. For that, but when it comes to other stuff, I don't. I'll sit there drawing a blank and go, I know it, but I just can't recall it.
Well, with all that being said, when I first started the YouTube channel, I was trying to think of something that would stick and something that would be hopefully easy as a nickname to remember. And I didn't want to be like, obviously I put aquariums in it because that's a popular name to put into it, but it's because of my process of buying all the aquariums and putting them all together. So it made sense to me. So that's why I chose that. But PriceTag is actually a high school nickname that I got. And I got it my freshman year, and I didn't even make it. Someone else called me that because that's my last name. So they just said, hey, I'll just call you PriceTag from now on. And I was in band at the time, so it was just kind of like something that stuck. And then everyone started calling me PriceTag. And then it just kind of stuck from there. And then people at work call me Price Tag now too. So I'm just like, well, that's perfect. I'll just make it Price Tag Aquariums, and it's easy to remember. And people are like, is your name really Price Tag? I'm like, no, but it's Joe actually. But Price Tag just was easier for people to have it stuck in their brain. So that's why I stuck. That's why I kept with it.
Yeah, I know. I figured maybe Price could be a last name because
Yep.
so I was thinking maybe that's his last name, and it kind of made interesting to call it Price Tag because of the cost of putting together aquariums. So I was like, okay,
One of Ben Ochard's live streams that I was on, whenever I first started coming in on his channel, on his live streams, he thought that he was like one of the most amusing things he saw. It's like, are you advertising for something, Price Tag Aquariums? And I was just like, well, not yet, but soon maybe. But he just thought that was really amusing. And I actually got to meet Ben Ochard in Ohio Cichlid Association, and that was an honor. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's another big African cichlid guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got huge fish and huge tanks, and he's definitely has a passion for it. So,
yeah. Well, outside of aquariums, is there anything else? Is there any other hobbies that you do, or is it just strictly aquariums? Or
we used to have a fishing boat, so fish has always been in my life. We've always gone fishing with my dad. I grew up with fish, so I think that's kind of was the main hobby. I've kind of I'm looking at my fry tank, and there's a smaller dead fry. I need to move some fish out of here before they start eating each other. I've had other hobbies, but nothing really stuck, and I was never really really good at anything. The one hobby that stuck the most was basketball, but even that didn't stick out of high school. So I guess this fish hobby just kind of came and went. And then, like I said earlier about getting the tank for my dad, I think it was just one of those things that I want to get back into this and get to the YouTube and content creation. So there wasn't really a whole lot of hobbies other than fishing and boating and that sort of. So aquatics life is always, outdoor stuff has always been in my life. So I think that's probably why I stuck with going back to fish keeping, because it was just something that I knew I would have a passion for.
Okay.
I'm not really much into sports. There's not really a whole lot of stuff, other than a little bit of basketball, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just one thing that just stuck for me throughout my life. So I'm still with it.
Okay. Now, as far as the future plans going and hopefully being able to sell some of this fish, are you going to strictly be an online business, or are you going to reach out to some of your local fish stores and try to be like a wholesaler to them?
That's a good question. I kind of wanted to do that. Some of the local fish stores around me are not, as keen to maybe accept that, part because I'm still new. But I feel like once I get the business started and get an LLC, I feel like it'd be a little bit easier and say, hey, I've got this, are you willing to do that route? And like I said, I just got to get everything rolling. So I think that would be really beneficial for me to be able to get my name out there, is to be able to, like you said, be a wholesaler and give them to your local fish stores and stuff. And I think I would have to, I just haven't done that yet. So that's a good idea. And that's a good thing that I could probably do in the future to get my name out there, because it's, for me to just start an LLC and just say, hey, I have this, it's not going to get me out there. So I think that would help promote me a little bit more to have people come in, buy fish, and also be a wholesaler while I continue to do it. So
you think you might dab into doing a mail order, like shipping fish, or is that something you kind of don't feel too comfortable?
I'm not comfortable doing it because I'm still learning how to bag fish myself. Anyone can bag fish, but I'm still practicing and doing it properly, doing it to make sure there's enough air, make sure there's, doing it and acclimating it and putting, conditioner or whatever, whatnot. So that's kind of I thought about it, but I need to make sure I know what I'm doing first, because I don't want to just jump in and start, selling fish and selling them online yet until I actually get something going and have a rhythm going first. Because that's kind of my main thing. And, anything in life is I got to make sure to get some solid, backbone on something I want to do before I start getting a rhythm. And then once I do, then I can move to the next step. I'm a detailed person, so I got to make sure I can put all my ducks in a row.
All right.
But
No, sorry, I kind of interrupted. You were going to say something.
oh, I just keep looking at my fry tank. They're nibbling at a dead fish over there, and every so often it's distracting.
Oh, do you belong to any of your local fish clubs around there, or you haven't looked at joining one, or there is none available? Like in my case.
I haven't. The only one I did was that Fish Fam, link or whatever through here. And I went to that Ohio Cichlid Association once, but I just haven't actually joined into one yet.
Okay.
So that's probably something I want to get into this year too, but I just haven't yet.
Yeah. Here's what I like about them is if you ever get in a situation where you need to offload fish, sometimes they can be pretty good at the swaps. Also, it gives you access to a lot of other fish that if you're in the market looking for something, you might be able to find it there at a lot a lot better price than you probably would at a fish store.
Uh-huh.
Because if you're breeding, sometimes you have too much of something and you just want to get rid of it, and that's usually a good source for that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to get into the planet aquarium stuff like that. There's a lot of clubs that'll carry plants and
Okay.
because once you get the hang of it, it's easy to propagate them. That becomes like a little source of income too. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good to know too. Yeah, I've always heard good things about getting into different fish clubs and groups and stuff. That it's really beneficial, especially if you want to start getting your name out there. I think that's what Cunningham Tropicals did, and that's how they got their name out there too. And they joined all these groups and stuff, and they're at the Ohio Cichlid Association, so it makes sense.
well,
Like,
is there anything else?
they're talking about some clubs in Ohio. If
Okay.
if you guys want to mention a couple clubs, maybe I could join in Ohio.
Well,
that'd be free. I'm in northeastern Ohio in Canton by the Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of
Okay.
Fame. So I mean, my driving distance is I could go a couple hours in, probably.
Yeah, if you use your resource at Fish Fam Link, they'll have some of the clubs listed on there. Another good resource for finding clubs is Aquarium Co-op. They
Okay.
have a map where clubs that register with them, they'll advertise them on there. So that's another place if you're looking for.
All right.
I like using those because I tend to travel a little bit, and if I know I'm going to a certain city, I'll look up to see if they have either local fish stores or they have clubs. And if I
Okay.
happen to coincide on a meeting, then I like to go attend and kind of crash the meeting because a lot of clubs will let you attend for one meeting for free, and then eventually become a member. But it's just a great opportunity to just to see what's going on out there in the community and in the hobby more than anything else, not so much the community.
All right. Well, I'll have to look into that. I'll have to look into Aquarium Co-op because I know who they are, but I didn't realize that they had like locations of where things were.
Yeah,
at
in their website, I think there's a section in there. I forget how to find it, but you can look it up, and they'll have a lot of the clubs.
Okay.
By state. It's basically a map of the United States, and then you click on the state, and it'll populate all the clubs and what cities they're in. It's not every single club that's out there because you have to actually give them the information to register on there. No different than Fish Fam Link, and but some clubs will do it. A lot of clubs don't want anything to do with social media either, which is kind of crazy because if you want to keep your club alive, you want to have people coming in all the time.
Yeah,
but
I mean that's a thing now. Everything at your fingertips, and it's convenient. So I mean that's the world we live in.
So, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the people that are coming in here to get to know you? Something that you want them to know? Something particular about yourself?
Well, I guess I like to try to keep this fish hobby alive for everyone, and the whole reason I joined YouTube and still to this day is I work and make a living and stuff, but this hobby is a passion for me, and it's strictly a hobby right now. And the whole reason I joined YouTube is one is to obviously be more knowledgeable, but two is I want to be able to share my experience with everybody else. And if there's anything that anyone want any help with, or any stuff that helpful tips that they could help me with to help me get better at the hobby, then then that's helpful for me too. And that was kind of like the whole reason of me joining YouTube, is so I can help other people while at the same time they can help me to be better at becoming better at the hobby. And since I've joined YouTube and done this, my first video about a year ago, like between all the help I've gotten so far, it's already been 90% positive, I would say, other than like your here and there, you might have something here and there, but generally speaking, it's been very, very, very good. And I really like that. So I'm trying to kind of bring an energy to the hobby, of like, if someone who's just trying to start out, or someone who has questions about how I'm doing things, I want to kind of bring some energy to my live streams and have a good time and stuff, and laugh and joke around with each other, and just more kick back, laid back, and just enjoy the company of one fish keeper to another. And, I just want to be able to enjoy the hobby. And that's the whole purpose behind it, is learn from each other and enjoy the hobby while we're doing it. And I want to try to bring some of that energy with everybody else. So that's kind of something about me that I kind of want to continue to do. So I hope it gets better and better as I go.
Well, I'll tell you what, based on the content that I've seen you put together, I think you're going to have a lot of success, especially with the projects you're doing, the way you're putting together your fish room. Like I said, it's very impressive. I really admire the work you're doing, and I just wish you the best of luck. And I'm pretty sure a lot of these people here that are not currently subscribed to your channel will probably go look at it. And if they're anything like me, they're gonna like what they see, and they'll subscribe. And we look forward to seeing more of you.
Yeah.
Several of the people here also do live streams. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but Fish Fam Link is a great resource if you're trying to find out when people are going live. That is a great resource.
More of that. I'm glad that you're not broken record's fine, because repetition's good. So like, I'm going to be looking more into that, and I think that'll help as well with everything. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and before we get out of here, I wanna send a very special hello. I have a friend of mine who's the joy of fish keeping. His name's Jose. He has a young daughter. Her name's Bethany. Hola, Bethany. Mucho gusto. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. And I just wanted to say a quick hello for her. And everybody else, thank you guys so much for the constant support. And hopefully you guys enjoyed Joe. Again, if you haven't had an opportunity to check out his channel, I highly recommend you do it. I think you're really going to be enjoy what Joe has been doing. And with that being said, thank you guys. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your channel. I appreciate it. It's been an honor.
No, I have to thank you for accepting the invitation, and allowing me the opportunity to get to know you. And for that, I thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Like I said, I just wish you the best of luck. And I look forward to seeing your projects, and wish you all the success, man. I think it's well deserved. And we'll stay in touch.
Yeah,
and everybody else,
absolutely.
Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in somebody else's live stream.
Thanks, guys.
At some point during the day.